Hailed as a generational masterpiece when it was first released in 1968, Van Morrison's Astral Weeks remains an album replete with as much melody as mystery. Famed rock critic Lester Bangs referred to it as a, quote, mystical document and a beacon of light on the far shores of the murk, unquote. Bruce Springsteen went even further and stated that Astral Weeks gave him, quote, a sense of the divine, unquote. Like so many great songs, stories, and poems, Astral Weeks grows in meaning and dimensions as the various tragedies and joys confront our fleeting existence here on Earth. One song in particular in Van Morrison's timeless album stands out the most in this regard. With a title like Sweet Thing, it's easy to dismiss the third track off of Van Morrison's album as just another song about limerence or romantic longing for some unnamed sweetheart. And maybe in some sense it could be. I know I certainly felt that way. However, it reaches well beyond such confines toward infinitely more. In my early 20s, I found myself living in a single-wide trailer on the outskirts of my hometown deep in the Northwest. I'd often make a mix of songs, anything from Elliott Smith to Tom Waits to Whiskeytown. Headphones in tow, I'd go for long, exhausting walks down gravel back roads past various farm fields, abandoned silos, and barns. I was desperate to escape the ennui and boredom that often haunts the quietude of small towns. I not only felt trapped inside the small circumference of this world, but also trapped inside the various strictures inside of myself. When I finally first heard the wild, articulate strumming that opened Sweet Thing, I felt a stirring inside of me. My eyes began to slowly lift from all the dust and gravel. I wanted to reach out toward others, toward the horizon. It began to dispel all the despair and vexation with a kind of bittersweet joy in those 4 minutes and 22 seconds. A longing emerged that grew well beyond just the romantic kind. The lyrics of Sweet Thing are written in the future tense and speak of a seemingly ardent love yet to arrive or be realized. Take a listen to the opening verse.
And I was on the merry way and jumped the hedges first. And I will drink the clear, clean water for to quench my thirst. And I'll show out the ferry boats and they'll get high on the blue ocean against tomorrow's sky. And I will never grow so old again.
The very first verse ends with a decidedly subtle shift towards something more when he sings, "I will never grow so old again." In fact, this particular line becomes a constant refrain throughout the song, expanding with greater meaning and emphasis each time the line is sung. This clues the listener into realizing that the song has a far greater kinship with, say, the mystical poetry and writings from the likes of Rumi or Hafiz, Saint Teresa of Avila, or Saint John of the Cross, than the idle pop songs of Van Morrison's generation. A preternatural longing compelled the young Van Morrison toward a higher hope, a higher heavenly hope. Love for the likes of Rumi or St. John of the Cross and others is an inherently divine phenomena. All earthly longing leads to God. In effect, we are all ultimately and inexorably drawn to God by love in all its various guises. This seems evident in the rapturous longing of Sweet Thing as well. Love becomes an endless source of renewal and regeneration, and not just some hopeless pursuit rooted in ephemera. Again, recall Van Morrison's constant refrain of, "I will never grow so old again." As the song grows with even greater ardency in the final verse, one realizes with certainty that Van Morrison is singing less about some earthly lover and infinitely more about beatitude and union with God. Of course, Van Morrison's more explicit turn toward his Catholic roots that emerged some decades later makes such a conclusion all but certain. When I first heard Sweet Thing stumbling down back roads just outside of my teenage years, it stoked the embers of romantic love and longing that I sought out for years with equal amounts of joy and exhaustion. As I grew older and found myself in the concrete wildernesses of volatile cities, the song signaled a memory of more innocent times, when gravity and despair were far less likely to inform us on earthly love. Now the song is a reminder, a beautiful reminder, of so much life yet to be lived, and perhaps most importantly, of a life yet to come.